Hey, so we're checking out your shark tooth UVs. They're looking really nice, so good job on that. Uh, you had mentioned you were having some trouble getting your texture file onto the teeth, so we'll go over that right now. The first thing that's really important is to make sure that you have your texture file in your project file included in here, okay? So normally the texture file is going to go in this folder right here called source images. All right, so if you just come to your project file, here it is, Shark. It's got all these folders. If you go under scenes, here's your scene. So your texture file that you created with GIMP is going to go in source images, 3D paint textures. Okay, it should sit right here. And the reason that we do that is because whenever we send this file somewhere else, we need to make sure that the textures go along with our entire project, all right? Because if they are somewhere else on your hard drive and you just send the project file, then all your textures will be missing. Whoever opens the file will not be able to have access to those textures. All right, so first things first. Now I don't have your tooth file, your tooth color map file at the moment, so I'm just gonna put in a random texture here. It's some bricks, so it should be interesting. But obviously, you're gonna want to put your tooth texture that you created in GIMP in that file folder. Okay. So, alright, let's go ahead and throw this texture onto the tooth. So I've got it selected right now in object mode. If I come to my attribute editor here, at the very end of this big long line of things, okay, if I hold this little arrow, it will show me what material I'm using for the tooth, okay? Now, because we've done a lot of things with the tooth, that can get kind of tedious going through all that. And you can see I've finally reached the end, and here it is. The tooth is still using Lambert 1, okay? Now, I'm going to go through how to get rid of all this in-between stuff because, obviously we don't want to do that every time we look for our texture. We can get to our texture from other places as well, but this is probably going to be the easiest, so we'll stick with this. So let's get rid of all this stuff. What is all this anyways? This is just a history, basically, of everything that you've done to shape this tooth. So, every time that you come in here to a component mode and you move something, or you do an extrusion, or you tweak your UVs, as you can see here. Here's tweak UV. One of these little nodes is added so that you can see everything you've been doing, and sometimes you can make changes retroactively. All right. So since we're pretty much done modeling the tooth and we're done with our UVs, we like how they are, we can go ahead and get rid of all these little bits of history. Okay. So to do that, just come up to Edit. Make sure you have your tooth selected in object mode when you do this. Edit, delete by type, history, and there goes all that extra stuff. All right, so everything looks nice and clean now. So now you just have a couple of tabs here. Okay. Now, it looks as though you have made some changes to Lambert 1, alright, and tried to plug a color in there and some other stuff. You never, ever, ever want to change Lambert 1, or, pretty much very rarely. I can't think of a reason why you would want to. So don't ever change Lambert 1. The reason that we don't change Lambert 1 is because this is the default material that Maya assigns to every object that we create within Maya, okay? So, for example, if I change Lambert 1 to something else, okay, I'll come in here and change it to my, my texture. Oops. Go through all my files here, hang on. So I've navigated to this texture. I'm going to go ahead and set it on there. Now you can't see it at the moment because we don't have our texture view turned on. Alright, so it looks like nothing happened, but it actually did, okay? If we go ahead and click this little button right here, okay, this is going to allow us to see textures in Maya. We can toggle the textures on and off, and that's really so that if we're working with a scene that's heavy with lots and lots of textures, this can improve performance of Maya to turn off the textures, or also it can make things simpler to view in a very complex scene. You can focus just on lighting and the shapes of the objects and composition when you turn those textures off. So it allows us to toggle these. So our texture is here. There it is. That's great. The problem at this point is that we have placed this texture on the default Lambert 1. So everything else that uses Lambert 1, which is probably everything else in our scene, is going to have this texture applied. Anything new that I create as well is going to be created with Lambert 1. So if I decide I want something else in here, I'm going to put pyramid, I don't know, I'm going to start modeling something. Wow, look, it's already got that texture on it. You know, maybe I want this to be a completely different object, but as soon as I create something, you know, it comes in with this texture, which would be our tooth texture, okay. So we never really want to mess with Lambert 1. We want to keep that the default gray Lambert. So, okay, well, we already did this. How do we change it back? And the way we do that is just to come up to Window. We're going to go into a menu that we don't really get into very often in class. We're going to go to our Hypershade, so it's under Rendering Editors, a Hypershade. We pull that up. There's you know, a lot of little buttons here, a lot going on. But here in this window, under Materials, this is where it's really important. We can see Lambert 1. Here it is. We can click on that, and you can see Lambert 1 pulls up in our attribute editor over here, okay? Now, at the moment, we have a link to a file, that texture file, going into our color and controlling our color, okay? So we no longer want that. We want to change this back to just plain old gray. So to do that, we can just come up here, make sure again you have Lambert 1 selected. Just click this little button here. It's going to basically give you a breakdown in the bottom here of everything that is connected and forms part of this Lambert 1, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to grab these two, just marquee select. I'm just clicking and dragging here, okay? And you can see they're connected there to the Lambert. And I'm just going to hit my delete key. I'm going to get rid of those, okay? So now we have Lambert 1. There it is, just gray, nothing going on with it. It's just back to normal at this point, okay? So we've fixed that. I see we also have this material here called Tooth Color, okay, which isn't being used, I don't believe. So it looks like you've already created a material for the tooth called Tooth Color, but the tooth is still using Lambert 1. So we want to change that from Lambert 1 to the material we set up called Tooth Color, okay? So to do that, we just right-click and hold. We can come down to, rather than assigning a brand new material, we already have that tooth color, so we can assign existing material, and we'll choose tooth color. Now, tooth color looks exactly the same as Lambert 1 at the moment, so we have to make some changes to it, but you can see now when you click on the tooth, rather than seeing Lambert 1 pop up here, you see tooth color. Okay, so we know we have the right material at this point. So, okay, here it is. Color is gray. We want to use our file, alright? So we can just click on this checkered box here. it's going to pull up this screen where we can choose from many, many different types of textures that are, just presets for Maya, or we can choose our own with this file button here. Okay, so we're going to choose file because we made our own texture. All right. So this is what we get. We get just this blank white because we haven't told Maya yet which file we want to use. So right here in image name, this is where we get to find a file and tell Maya this is the one I want to use. All right. So click on that little folder there, and you'll want to navigate on your computer to that source images file. All right. So here I am in the Shark project. Should be under source images, 3D paint textures. There it is. Okay. And obviously, this is bricks, but you'll want to use your tooth texture in here. So I'm going to hit open once I find the texture that I want. And then there it is. Just pops right onto the tooth there. Okay. So, that's really all there is to it as far as the texture. Just make sure, A, that your Lambert 1 is set to a default gray. B, make sure that you have that texture file in your project file under source images under 3D paint textures, okay? And C, make sure you have this little toggle turned on so that you can see it. All right, that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions about anything that we went over today. And happy modeling.